So I see a couple of kids out here. About, 2 years ago, my son had a science fair project, and we kind of fell in love with the idea of 3D printing back then. So he came up with this idea. I mean, we went through a whole list of things to figure out what we could come up with a hypothesis and do the whole scientific method. And so we ultimately landed on this Mentos Coke, idea. You've all seen Mentos sprays. Well, he ended up designing nozzles based on shapes that he thought would make it spray the highest. And so in doing so, I didn't want to be near the Coke. And so I found, on Thingiverse and the great stuff that other people have done, and found somebody that had a servo and Arduino and had made remote control possible so that you could take your Coke, set it far away, and launch it and spray it without getting messy. And so we took a whole series of videos. He learned how to use 3D modeling software and made me all jealous, so I've been trying to learn from him. But he ended up doing a great job with that, but then that meant the printer that we were borrowing from the university, we had to have one at home. So luckily, one ended up at the house, and we ended up trying to figure out everything we could use to, do to use it. Well, since then, you're not going to see the nozzle and the spray. He ended up designing a nozzle that could spray it up 32 feet in the air, I think was the highest. And so we can't do that here. So what other thing, how many of you are parents? Okay. And how many of you have dealt with Mother's Day, right? So one of the things that the kids and I were doing, a couple of times we did all this effort of throwing the kids on green sheets and doing body art with letters and making all these things. And that's a headache. That's crazy hard. So this past year, we decided that we needed to combine the use of 3D printing, get away from dealing with 3D sheets, and the kids are getting old enough that they didn't want to make body art with their bodies on the ground. So Reddit is wonderful as far as 3D printing and figuring out ideas. I don't know how many of you in the community, have used that for open source hardware ideas, but I was looking at the 3D printing, and somebody posted something that I thought was phenomenal, and I figured a way to replace all that heavy lifting with the step ladder and the green sheets and me shooting the kids. And so I wanted to show it to you and then break it down about where I want to go with this and get some ideas from y'all. Bear with me 1 second here. So this has been sitting on the cabinet back home for my wife since Mother's Day. She's not completely pleased with some of the colors, and so I find that it gets unplugged. I mean, it's still a nice piece of little cabinet art, but let me just show it and explain it. So what you see here is a matrix of 3x3 Lithophanes. A lithophane is plastic sheets, basically, of photographs. These have been done for hundreds of years. If I had been a little bit more prepared, I would have put together a slide deck and shown you the history of lithophanes. But the idea with a 3D printer is you can take a photo and convert it into depths and print it, and so when you backlight it, the photo comes back out. Can you all see that? I don't know if it's showing up on the camera. So the idea was to make this, very stylish, and I ran out of time. So you saw the random colors. I got one of the people who did a similar project to post his code, and we started collaborating, and so now I've got this, it's in GitHub, and, I just have not gone back to modify it. So what I want to do is show you kind of how it was done real quick, and some of the ideas I've got coming up. So right now, it's kind of hackish. I just have a little battery just to save some time, and I was curious how much power it uses, so I've just got a little USB converter there. But when it's sitting on the cabinet, it's just got this Node MCU running. I just loaded it with Arduino, treated it like an Arduino, And it really, I mean, because there's so few LEDs, I'm not even handling any issues with the resistance or the capacitance to help protect the LEDs because there's just not enough draw. And so I literally have just the 3 wires for power, ground, and for the signaling for the pixels. So if I break it off, I'm sure it's not too big of a loss. Like I said, until I get the colors better, my wife's not, it doesn't really fit into all scenes. Bear with me 1 second here. Anybody have like something solid, just thin, like a key? I don't even have a key on there. Oh, wait, here we go. So right here is just LED strip tape. I literally just cut out, I took the back of a cheap, like, I think it was $6 with the Michaels coupon, and I took the back off and saved it in case I ever wanted to make a shadow box again. So this is just a piece of cardboard, cut down, and just real quick solders of 3 wires. Took some old Cat 5 wire and stripped it down because I didn't have anything else. But it's amazingly, it was very simple. I mean, you know, it's a nice little project to put together. And some of the things I wanted to do to clean it up that I haven't done because, you know, life. But I've come up, found some designs. We've got little cases. And anybody dealt with these ESP8266s? Have you played with some more? So I have one here. I just wanted to point out. Oh, it's already in here. So I forgot about that. So these things are really small. You can get them from like AliExpress for, you know, a few bucks. Depending on how many you buy, you can get them for like $2.25. But what this is it's got a little ESP8266 and all the support regulator and everything to be able to actually just power it off a USB. And you have a breakout of, I forget how many different GPIOs on this particular one. But this here, I have the code on it, and I just haven't finished soldering the wires. But with this little 3D print, I could just stick this to the back of the board and have it operational without any any wires sticking out. So one of the things that I used this for was justification to get a bigger 3D printer. So the 3D printer we had, it was like a monoprice mini. If you've ever seen them, it's like a 120 millimeter by 120 millimeter build volume. And so I don't know if you noticed when the Lithophanes were lit up, but there were a little bit of lines and stuff. I was running out of time. It takes a little while to print these. And so we were printing them, I think 5 at a time vertically, and a little bit of stringing happened between them. And the worst thing was having to print 9 of these little matrices because I couldn't print one big tic-tac-toe that would hold all these things together. And so it was amazing. This was actually done with, oh goodness, what is the CAD software that's all text, that's programmable? OpenSCAD. So if you haven't seen OpenSCAD, that's amazing. It was like, so if you like the program, this was like 8, 9 lines of code that just basically said, give me a box of this dimension, and I told it to stack them and put a slight gap between them. And so I was able to print 5 at a time because, again, 120 millimeter by 120 millimeter. I don't speak in inches anymore now that I do 3D printing. I don't know if anybody else is like that. But so I think I could get 3 or 4 in a stack, and then they print and they pop apart. And so I convinced my wife, because she thought all the in-laws need one of these, and so we got the bigger printer. We just haven't made any more, but it's amazingly simple. It's just I printed the 9, and I don't want to tilt these out here, but if it comes across there, and you're welcome to take a look at these later. But the idea is I could easily pop the back off, and if I had the matrix, the tic-tac-toe that I could just hold everything in there, pop these out, swap pictures as the kids grow older, or as she gets sick of seeing the one with me in the middle, and move on. But the thing that I wanted to do, again, to go back to this ESP8266. For those of you that don't know, it's basically you're combining an Arduino with Wi-Fi, and you can do amazing things. So I started thinking, I don't use OpenHAB, I use Home Assistant, But the idea would be, it'd be really easy to throw some code on here where if the weather was looking bad or if there was a warning, I mean, we've had a few tornado warnings living on the south side. And so it'd be nice to be able to just start flashing red in a quadrant. Or, you know, if there was something that we needed to do, you know, start doing that to have like a classy way to code different things, you know, code indicators. Since I've got, you know, the ability to have a 9x9, I could almost have icons in a sense. But, so those are the things I'm looking to do next with this. And so if any of you have got some ideas or have done anything with the programmable LEDs and Wi-Fi, I'd love to talk to you about it. But that's where we're at right now. Been having a lot of fun with it. A couple of these different cases. I thought about putting OLED, one of those little tiny OLED screens, so I could have a little bit of extra indications of, you know.
I have one working right now for my CNC machine.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. So anyway, that's all I have. Is anybody have any questions? All right. But yeah, after this, you're welcome to take a look at it. Thank you.